So, let's see if I can. And then once I get to a certain point, I can also go over some of the other places that I've made, mostly of where my little D&D characters and other TTRPG characters exist in. Alrighty. So, I think this is not the one that I wanted. This is a lie. Because this one is completely from scratch, which is not the vibe. Alright, let's see. I do not want to build everything from scratch because you can literally build a house from nothing with this game, but I need walls. My creativity needs tiny walls, unfortunately. Let's see. Let's start off with a... Ooh, too big. Maybe a semi-rounded floor plan. Kind of cute. And then this will give us more space to start. Alright. So... also, let's choose what area this is in. To help add some little ambiance to it as well. You know, completely fair. Silent Hill is an awful time. And in comparison, this is much more soothing. Alrighty. Have a little. I have found that along with making character playlists to help get into the headspace of the characters that I play, it's also nice to kind of set up a little living space for them. Which I think this would be a good way to kind of show you guys how I picture this little character existing. Truly, having piano underneath any horrors kind of feels like there will always be a jump scare, but I do not know how that exists for all of the rest of you. But 'tis a cozy game. And there will not be any horrors unless I add one, which I truly think that is impossible with this little cutesy game. It is truly so tiny and so cute. And then I think a nice little rug would be good. And I'm also aware that these colors are currently atrocious and they will be fixed momentarily at some point. also think that this game is very relaxing just in terms of the shapes that it kind of uses, because it all feels like kind of cartoony, but at the same time it's like light realism, which is nice. And I've played many different kind of room building simulators, and this one is still fairly new. So it sometimes, for example, the most recent update, they added a bunch of Christmas items and things, which were very cute. But also, more importantly, that added more candles. And therefore, that is what we strive for in any little home builder. One thing I do hope that they add soon is kind of like a grid system, so that way you can properly get the windows aligned. Because, for example, I am pretty sure that these windows are not aligned, but I also will never be able to make them correctly do that. Because I can't tell, and my depth perception is a tie. The other thing I really enjoy about this is the effects that you can have, because you can have like little smoke that comes from your candles. And if you add little pets, you can add little sleeping Z's to show that they're like kind of living in the world, which is very cute. And this is the version of fire that they have, which feels lightly aggressive. But also, it's fire. Scoot into the fireplace. Perfect. Some nice little coziness. Little mouse is freaking out. I do not want a Christmas tree light. I lied. No. We don't need tiny tree topper. I hope that they add a pen and quill at some point too, because currently they only have pencils. The bright side, what they've just added to this game, is mass moving of items, which is so helpful. Because that wasn't always there. And it truly was a tragedy once you had your entire desk set up and then you moved one thing and it would never go back to where it was. Kitchen spaces. My little home is in a sort of secluded forest near a very large lake, which with this background, you wouldn't be able to tell. But also, it is still very cute. I don't know if you can change the background colors. You can. That's exciting. I want it to be... I wish it didn't change the light in the windows, though. Do a little sage green, I suppose. Okay, and then change the color of the walls. It is very cozy. I'm probably going to relocate it again. But it's so cute. And then do another little panel. And then can do a texture on the wall, which is also very nice. There we go. That feels better. And then I can make the floor little coziness. Oh, too bright. That's good. And then get back to this little kitchen area. This is where you see how my mind exists of trying to remember what task I'm on. Because originally I was going to do the kitchen, and instead I focused on walls. But it all helps make the little house come together. It's just built in. There. And then add some more little backing. Put you right there for now, because I want to get another one of these. All of these. No, all of these. Despises me. There we go. Let's get them down. Right about here. Good little kitchen space. Add another window. Then I need to just find a little spigot for the sink as well. Wherever that may be. Where would they put it? The categories in this game are lightly vague, which does make finding things sometimes hard. For example, I would not consider the spigot to be a kitchen appliance, but instead be part of the where you'd find the sinks, but that is also just my opinion. Also, scooting in this game sometimes is hard, trying to get the right angles. Little cozy chair. Be able to sit in the fire and have the nice little moonlight / sunlight come through the windows. And then perfect. Right by the sink. My little therapy frog right by the sink. And then also add some little stairs. Oh. I can get them to turn the correct way. There we go. Here, and then we will lightly shrink it to fit the bed. Make nice little stairs up to the little mattress. And then we can add some little cushions things as well. Once again, I will eventually come back to this kitchen. And then I can grab a little sheet. And that is a whole other mattress. I thought that was going to be smaller than it was. Little pillow. And a little pillow. I'm going to change the little sheet colors of this as well. A little nicer. There we go. You can also change the rug as well. Cute. And we can go back to the little chairs. For the little kitchen. Some of the proportions of this stuff also feels lightly off, just because the tables sometimes feel so big in comparison to the chairs and things. But also, you can adjust everything so much it doesn't really matter. Because I can make everything so itty-bitty, or giant if I wanted, which is so nice, because then you can determine how much of the space that you want to use for what. And we can go some little kitchen. I would not consider the washer and dryer to be a kitchen appliance. But once again, just an opinion, I suppose. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to be a nicer color. Oh, not the main color I thought it was. Maybe nice off little brown. There we go. This is coming together already pretty well. At least the general plans of things. And then we can grab some little food items. Start decorating the kitchen with. Little teacup. Teapot. And then put that there. This is called Make Room. It's still, I think, in early development, but it was such a cute little art style, I could not pass it up. And then we can add some little spice jars. And probably some shelves to help increase the space. Let's see. I think, no, would count as construction. No. Bright side is at least they have a search tag as well, which is so nice. Because once again, their organization is sometimes a little confusing about where you can find items. But a little ease of access is nice. Oh, that is way too big for what I want. But, like I said, they can shrink. Make some nice little shelving. There we go. Probably bring these down a little bit too. There. Oh, no. Give me the jar. once again, I'm sorry if this is not aesthetically pleasing to watch, considering how much I'm bouncing around the house. My brain just immediately goes, oh, I need these to fill this, and then suddenly I'm in a completely different part of decorating rather than actually building out the space. But also, my tiny house, and therefore, I will decide if the tiny jar matters more than the tiny chairs. A little glass of water over there. It's also the fact that once you lose something in this game, once again, it is very hard to find it again. So therefore, if I see something, I'm going to try to grab it and figure out where I would like it placed. But it is so cute. The random croissant on top of my roll is perfect. Let's see if we can just... Oh, no. Melted, perfect. And then give me the tiny croissant. Oh, you're still floating. Tilt. You tilt. There we go. There we go. Little breads. And then a little mortar and pestle. Go on the tiny shelf. Some little hands over on the side, and then I wonder if I can do this little illusion correctly. A little kettle suspended over the fire. That way, like there's little boiling water. There's already a spice rack. Tragedy. You know what? It's fine. I get to customize more of my spices anyway. I will rotate, giving it a kind of more randomized feel. Oh! That's crazy. How did... Oh, that's a... Oh. I did not know that was a feature. I did not know you could just hide things like that. Actually, want you go. Thank you. Truly never enough spice. All the spice. I also need to change the color of these, but if I start doing that, I'm going to get absorbed into that. So therefore, it should wait until I get a bunch of little jars on the shelf. And this is flour. So grab you, put you up here. Make you very tight. And then the bugs here. Wonder if there's any little regular plates. Yes. Shrink. Puppy. And oh. Here comes the part of struggling to get the illusion of a stack of plate when they just perfectly sit on top of each other. I didn't mean it. No. Bye. gives the illusion. That's all good. And then we can get another little cup. And more little bottles. Nice. And another one here. Cute. Very cute. And then let's get another little chair for this little desk. Another little rounded chair, I suppose. Go right there. And then see if we can find more shelves. So that way I can put them in front of these bigger windows. Oh, this should work. That should get. Oh, this one. There we go. Center. Right. Then some bristle out of the way. We can also shift this into a little brown color, maybe. So we can also change the color of the windows too. Ooh, that darker brown looks nice. Truly should have done this before I made all the windows. Probably would have been the better move, but also, oh, no. No. Okay, we can save. We can save. This tiny shelf is in my way. Alright, maybe we get this one a different shelf instead. Do one that's suspended from the top, maybe. Shrink. And then there we go. And that way all this can just move back to where it was. There we go. And then we'll just make it the same color. Beautiful. Oh, this chair is not centered. There we go. And we also changed the color of these windows. got the frog in the basket. Alrighty. And then a few other little jars. And then keep. I know that those are not in a straight line. Once again, depth perception. Awful, at least in this game. It's so hard to judge where the little spices are going to sit on their tiny, tiny shelf. There we go. And then we can start messing with these colors now. Different little spices. And add some nice little pops of color to this, at the moment, very brown house. But that will change at some point. And we can add, it's too close to that other color. Get a little light orange, I suppose. And then we can add a little gray. Maybe that could be like a jar of salt. And then this one do a little purple. And then this we can make a little blue jar. And then let's see here. And over here. Make that into an extension of the kitchen space / living space. And then get another little table. Not quite like that. Little table. Feel a little big. Another little. This is not little, but it's another rug that we will make little. Something like this would be good. And we can lightly change the color again. And also change the color of this little chair. There we go. Oh wish we could add some texture to the fireplace to add almost like that little like brick texture. But that's okay. Okay, let's see here. Little plants. Okay, that's where you decided to be. You right there. You maybe a little more fancy planter. And you shrink it a little bit. Oh, thank you. I think it is really coming together. Like, I love doing the little spice racks and little bottles because those are the next to change color. But I do think it's coming together pretty well. We'll have to add all the little nooks and crannies, though. Okay. And then small. Put this over here. Tight. And then add another one. A fruit bowl. Okay. What if I scoop the fruit, grab the little breads, rotate the little breads, put the little fruits with that. Yeah, that's cute. Okay, and then see if we can get some more little plants in here. This, but tiny. You also rotate them, make them look a little different. Little plants. And then you also make this very tiny. The tiniest cactus. Even smaller. Okay, and then get these little guys too. Make them absolutely tiny. Little windowsill plants. I think I'll also make this smaller. I move this up to this little window. And then get some little candles. I also just love how the little candle can be lit and you can turn it on and off. It's so cute. you can just have it. Okay, okay, you need a stand if you're gonna go there. But also your little rock salt lamp. Perfect. And then maybe some unattended to little candles. Let's see. Oh, that's cute. They have a little lava lamp. And then let's see. I can change the color of these now, I suppose. Give them some variety. Didn't mean it. No, come back. Accidentally hiding all my little things. There we go. Wonderful little shelves. Okay, let's see what else we can add. But like, that'd be blocking things. Little bookshelf would be cute though. I can move this little plant. And then put a little bookshelf here instead. That right in. Second little one. There we go. Then change the colors of some books. There we go. Also change the color of some of these too. A little different. Maybe more pastel. Show that they're different from the other ones. Add a little broom. Maybe that's what this plant is for. It's to hide the broom. That is an aggressive turn. Well, that did not work the way I expected it to. this little thing. This one's come out of its pot all the time. No, you need to go back in your pot. There we go. That's cute. And then little slippers. Change these to a little light green. Yeah, I think this is coming together very well. The fact that you can also have a spider out of a cage as a pet is very interesting that we classified this as a pet. So they fit a little better. Little mini cutting boards. Yeah. I think this is good for now. Alrighty. I'm gonna save it. Yeah, a nice little house. Maybe the next little cozy stream I'll do, I'll put in Tiny Glade and kind of make the area that I think this little house is in. But so far, this is what the inside looks like. At least for now. And then I can show you guys some of the other little ones that I have also made. Some of them are still works in progress, but I can show them anyway. So this one is one I've previously made that kind of represents the room that my changeling character Lumi had in their little sort of dream / ideal little mansion. And I have a little dog in the bed to represent the little rock sentinel dog that they had by the mid / late campaign. I have a bunch of little nods to other little characters. Where there's multiple pairs of shoes due to the fact that they do have multiple partners in their little polycule, which is why there's so many cups everywhere, as well as pairs of shoes. But their little ideal house was kind of built on the edge of a seaside, which was very good. Did not put that here because it did mess with the coloring and the music, which I wanted to keep. But it is very cute. I also have their sort of like little black mirror desk set up, which once again, I wish there were feathered pens in this game. The only thing, my only problem with this game is that it only has pencils. But I think this is very cute. And then the next one that I have is I set up this little tiny sort of glade, which was for my Fungrel character, Searling. And this is kind of how I pictured their little home before they went up into a steampunk city to where that would be their new home. But the surface is, I guess the best way to describe it is weird, which is why all the trees and all the different colored foliage are the way that they are. But I have like the little nods to a bunch of the little mushrooms of how, like, also I just have Searling existing in, since they are a little glow-in-the-dark little guy, which I think is very fun. Cute little forest patch. And then I also have their little room in the sky made too. So I have this little flower rug here that kind of ties back to the glade where there was like a little tiny field of flowers to show how their adoptive dad still wanted to try to give them that little piece of home that they couldn't return to, and to kind of have that little safety net, which is why also the blanket is the same color. And then we kind of have Searling's tiny hoarding tendencies showing up as a bunch of these boxes I have to kind of represent their little artificery desires, as well as their messiness, as I tried to scatter little things around the room. But this little corner is specifically for their adoptive dad's own kids and how they don't really use the room anymore. So I think that is also very cute. Apparently also we can add, in this game, you can add little arts to go in these frames. I'm still trying to figure out how, but once I figure it out. Yeah, I think it's very cute. And to also have like a little radio that they listen to from, since the little Sky City also has broadcasts and things that they have. Keep my little guy informed, and also with his bioluminescent lamps. And then this one I'm not done with, but this one is for my Dragonborn pirate captain, Layla, because she has a sweet tooth, which I have represented with the little cookies. And I'm trying to figure out how to best utilize this space, because there isn't a ton of space on this tiny boat that they have made, which I could have just made my own, I guess. But also, how am I supposed to represent boat? You have to see the boat. But I also have her plushy hoarding tendencies represented with all the pillows that I've tried to scatter around the little space. And yeah. Alright, so I'm going to take a brief little interlude and set up the next game. But I will see you guys in a few minutes.